Hello my dear subscribers, today we're gonna have a review on the track to Yomi. This is a very interesting title. In December 2028 we received the announcement of the track to Yomi, a slide-scrolling game with Flying Wild Hawk, creators of the Shadow Warrior and published by Devolver Digital. The experts and releasing indie game with a unique twist are true. The game has an Asian theme. What is special about it is aesthetic of a black and white cinema with a feudal Japan setting. The title is a tribute to Akira Kurosawa classic films such as his emblematic The Seventh Samurai. Trek to Yomi doesn't hide the influence with the Chamber of Shadow styles, the aforementioned black and white style and dueling swords. If there should be an avatar of India of year, this is a strong candidate. Trek to Yomi would come to translate as a trip to the underworld, and is that, according to the role of the game Japanese folklore itself, Yomi is the word to describe the land of the dead. This place is referred to throughout the game directly or indirectly. Leaving this clear, we move on what plot it is. The protagonist Hiroki is training with his swordmaster Sanjuro, teaching him important life lessons that he will later have to put on his test. He then witnesses a group of bandits beside his village destroy everything in its path. After a series of events, Hiroki will be entrusted to protect the village from him. The title is a homage to Akira Kurosawa's classical films, such as his iconic Seventh Samurai. Trek to Yomi does not hide its influences with camera and shoot out of slightness. Light and shadow to play, the aforementioned black and white style, and sword duels. Also, don't let the indie status fool you. The game has very high production rates. Now we enter the gameplay section, which despite being a game, focused on the history and entertaining and very technical combat system. First of all, the game is a 2.5D side-scroller, however it doesn't have some free moving sections in all directions. But let's go in the parts. The game has a base for simple exploration. Sometimes we will reach parts of the stage where we can go at any direction. This is to find hidden parts when collectibles and characters upgrade await. Alternate paths are not always so obvious, so we must be very attentive when we are making our tour. Exploring offers its rewards from artifacts from the era in which the game is set. These serve as collectibles and have a brief description from the protagonist himself and what he thinks so far. Also, we find improvements that are usually more hidden than collectibles. Another important point is about avoiding big confrontations. Sometimes we can surround a group of enemies and activate the environmental traps such as suspended logs, bridges and a poor condition. The point is to use the intelligence to avoid having to dispatch a group of the attackers. What would a samurai game be without the combat? In Trek to Yomi there are many combos. However, this is not your typical wild fighting action game. This has more technical battle system. Attacks are done in a rhythmic fashion and not by hitting the attack buttons like a crazy. Enemies wait for the right moment to attack and take advantage of the gaps. The character has two bars, one for health obviously, by section that represent 1 point each, and another bar for the resistance. The health bar obviously goes down with every attack and stamina bar goes down with every action, obviously. Like for example dodging, attacking or probably blocking. Excuse me, not probably blocking, but for sure. If the resistance bar runs out, we will enter a state fatigue, in which our blows are slow and we will not be able to block. If you strike a blow in this state, the bar is recovered. Or if we do not want to risk it, move away until it's full. In each combat we will have to be aware if we do not want to have a bad time. Another detail is the realization of combos. As I already said, to perform them, you have to touch the buttons rhythmically. This will be unlocked as we progress and gain in complexity and eye-catching. It is an intuitive system with the fast hits and slower one to break defenses. By blocking attacks, in addition to avoiding the damage, doing it all right time will allow us to make the counter attack. Also, by leaving the enemy stunned, we will be able to do a finishing on the final attack, very much in this style of the movies of this genre. Skills are divided into the offensive, defensive, and the other skills. Offensive refers to the attacks and where we can perform the learned combos. Defensive refers to avoiding attacks, either by blocking, parrying, or countering. And the other skills refers to the complementary ones like the use bow, shurikens, and bow. Despite all that, the game lacks some deep and everything is simple. As I said, the combat system is entertaining. However, we will almost always be performing the same maneuvers because most enemies are eliminated with 2 or 3 hits at most. Although there are enemies with the armor and these require more attacks. The game invites you to be patient, especially in clashes with level bosses. Akira Kurosawa has been mentioned for being one of the directors who made a style in his work. The game, like the director films, is black and white and presents different shots. In general, fast shots to highlight and the settings are important part of Track to Yomi on a static level. We can also see punctual close-ups, a brilliant play of light and a shadow. Another detail is the silhouette shots in which we see Hiroki facing enemies behind illuminated screens. And when we finish them off, the splash of blood is like a poem. The game runs at stable 60 FPS without any hiccups, but this due to indie game nature. However, sometimes the black and white style is used to cover certain flaws such as transferring and objects, with the others. Stacking of dead enemies and the use of strange ragdoll, also by placing a lot of emphasis on the showness of the place, they forget the practical part, since there will be very dark sections and prevent us from knowing our position with respect to that of the enemies. Musically, there is nothing to object to. It has instrumental songs with an oriental cut, very hand in hand with the visual style. Even the game is dubbed into the Japanese without the options to change to another language, although with the text in French or English. Nor is that another doubling is very needed for the game wants to reflect. You have to dive into this culture. Without fear of being wrong, Track to Yomi is another strong candidate for the Indie of the Year. It's a title with an original visual aesthetics and fun combat system. Although his story is not the most original, at least it remains interesting. Sometimes they focus so much on the movie setting that they forget about the playable part, and this work against them. It is complemented by a sound section very typical of the films of the genre. A recommended game, that's for sure. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Play it. Bye.